Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to look at restoration of a pen a viewer sent me. Find within the family, so it has some sentimental value. He did take the section out, which is one of the things that I worry about with restorations, and the J bar has been compressed and bent, which is not uncommon with older pens. This is a Wearever pen. We'll give you some descriptions about what that's like. Just a black finial at the top. You can see a little bit of discoloration there in that cap band. Interesting plastic cap band on a metal cap. The section also came out, or sorry, the sack also came out. It's pliable, but not. I'll put a new one in. The barrel's in good shape. Just a plastic injection molded barrel, lever fill. The challenge with this pen was the feed had no flow whatsoever. So I've soaked it for 3 days now, and eventually the nib came out, and it's really cruddy. I don't know what kind of ink. It's almost like a paint. But thankfully it looks like it's coming off. A little bit of ammonia and soap and everything else seem to do it. So you can see there's a transparent feed, which is interesting. So I'm going to leave this soak for a little bit more and thoroughly clean it up, reassemble it, new J-bar, and we'll see how this interesting pen writes. Well, I finally was able to clean up this pen. Basically the feed, which was encrusted with, could have been India ink, but it's interesting that it's a clear feed for a vintage pen. That's quite unusual. There's a nice channel in it. That's good. I cleaned up the end here. There's a lot of excess plastic there. There's no reason for it to be there, just collected ink. So that's nice. The nib also cleaned up well. And the nib is a little bit different. It has that extra bit of metal on it. It's a medium nib. So we'll put this in the pen and see how it performs. Again, it took a little bit of elbow grease to get that all nice and clean and sparkly. So this was the J-bar that was in there, which obviously is not going to work anymore. It's been already pretty well deformed. So I found one that was the same length, which is what's the important part. This is an updated one which has, as you press down, it's a two-piece thing, so it'll press against the bladder pretty well. And I'll put in a bladder the same size as this one, which to me looks like a number 18 or 17, but we'll put them all together. Everything looks nice. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I think this is an aluminum cap. It's very, very light. There was a little bit of polish left in these grooves at that bottom of the cap, but I cleaned all that up. There's no ink inside the cap. That was nice. And the cap has a nice cap liner inside there, so I think it'll work out quite well. So we're going to put a new bladder in, assemble it, and put nib to paper and see how it writes. Here we are, whether to reassemble. I've attached the sack. It's a number 18, measured it, trimmed it. I use a little bit of wood glue underneath of the sack and I let it dry for 24 hours, and I put shellac on the seam in the bottom part because I think that just kind of gives it a little bit more stability. And that feed and nib really cleaned up nice. So what we do now that we're ready is to assemble my bag of talc, mainly to get the nib to slide in smoothly, and also it works as a desiccant to a little extent. So it just slides in. As you can see, it slides in easily, which is what you want. I line up the nib with the lever. A lot of people do different things, but I do that. And it slides in pretty well. The next owner, I'll let him decide whether he wants to do something extra to, maybe a little bit of white glue or something, which is what I use. Just something that's going to give it a little bit more stability without gluing it in so you can't easily pull it out and replace it, because nibs do have this particular life to it. So we're going to put a little bit of ink in this pen and see how that interesting nib writes. There's not a lot of information on Wearever on the web. Not a pen that I delved into. I'm certain in my boxes of pens I probably have more than a few. But, you know, I haven't gone into being motivated to go back and restore them or take a look at them. But this pen was nice to get started with. This pen, as far as I can tell, was called the Pennant. And it was made in the 50s to the mid-60s. It was a top-of-the-line pen for Wearever. It cost $1. A lot of their other pens were less than $1. You know, the cap just unscrews. It posts well. It's a very light pen. Feels good in the hand. Nice section. You know, the material is not a high-grade material, so it has that, in Stephen Brown's word, plastic feel. Overall, I was pleasantly surprised with the nib. It lays down a nice patch of ink. This Pilot Blue Black dries pretty quick. It looks very blue, and it is much bluer than I expected, but it's a dark blue. The LED lights make it a little bit lighter. So overall, I'm pleased. The nib has a little bit of softness to it, not a lot. It's not a nib I would push, but it certainly lays down a nice line. I see no reason to do any smoothing or anything else with this nib, so I'm just going to write with it a little bit, just keep it, you know, in play, and then in a day or two it'll be on its way in a restored condition to its owner. So hopefully you've enjoyed another little view of a vintage pen that isn't quite in the forefront, but obviously they're available on eBay for between like $10 and $30. So if it's a pen that interests you, you could pick it up. You know, to me, for that price range, I would get an Esterbrook, but that's just my personal feeling. So may you all have great writing experiences. Explore this amazing world that we have, especially when you put it in perspective of time and what pens were made during what time frames. At one point in, I think it was the 40s from what I read, Wearever actually produced more pens than any other pen maker in America, basically because they were low cost and they sold a lot of them. So we've reached the end of this video. May you have many great, wonderful, exciting pen experiences. Put ink on paper. Share your thoughts. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your life. Bye for now. I do like the nib.